America needs a tidal wave of the old-time religion.
I have sinned against you.
How dare you!
We have no need to doubt God.
The harlot Babylon is preparing the nations to receive the Antichrist.
I didn't even build that house with money from the church. I built it with money from my book.
I don't make this stuff up.
Repenting of your sin.
It is a moral issue.
They got together and swore a pact to the devil.
I just enjoy seeing people worship, praising God.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to
Believe It
or Not,
the show where we believe it
or we don't sometimes.
Yeah, most times we don't. But you know, this could be the day where it happens.
It's always possible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Trevor Poelman. Oh, sorry.
And I'm Damien Doepping.
Beautiful.
I thought you were apologizing for being Trevor Poelman for a second.
Yeah, no, sorry about being Trevor Poelman. Really bothers some people. So
No, but I'm doing well, Trev. How are you?
I'm doing great. Spent the weekend with my sibling. We hung out, ate a lot of junk food.
Yeah,
and still in recovery from that. So
recovery mode, huh?
Yeah, so much junk food. The one day we went to a movie. It had been in a while, so we went to see a movie in the movie theater, and so we just ate like popcorn for dinner, and then afterwards stopped at 7-Eleven, just bought a bunch of junk food and watched more movies at home. And then we both just felt like shit the next day because of all the junk food.
And you're still recovering?
I think so. Yeah. I mean,
it's
also
Wednesday, man.
That's true. Also, I didn't get a lot of sleep and just woke up, so that's probably more what it is.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I haven't been sleeping much this week either for some reason. So
if we're low energy,
yeah, we're a bunch of sleepy podcasters. You know, we're not going to get it done. So
exactly. And you got your big trip coming up.
Yeah, I'm going to be away for a few weeks. I'm going out west, as it were. You know, Well, I decided that this whole podcasting thing wasn't working, so I'm going out panning for gold.
Smart.
And that's what I'm doing. Yeah. So that's what it is. Or drilling for oil. I don't know which one it was. I know I'm just going out there and whatever happens.
Yeah, you can do both.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to really becoming super conservative and maybe Christian. We'll see what happens. Yeah. But you never know, right?
You never know. I'm sure I went to bed like watching the election results when it was still they were still counting Ontario, and I was like, yeah, we'll be fine. But I'm sure they were all conservative there, and some PPC, which is Canada's racist party. I think that's what it stands for.
Yeah. It's like Trump light.
Yeah, exactly.
MAGA light.
Yeah.
Which is so weird in Canada to have those people.
Yeah. And that's weird how some of those politics seep in. But,
well, there was a few coverage I saw, and there were people waving Trump 2020 flags. I'm like, what are you doing? Wrong country.
So dumb.
Wrong year. It's over.
It's over. You ever go to Sunday school?
No. No, in my house, Sunday was the Lord's Day, not a day for school.
Smart.
That's what I would have said if I was a kid.
I go to school 5 days a week. You want me to go at 6? No, thank you.
Hey, this is the Lord's Day, and it is day of rest. So, I'm not going to school, Mom and Dad.
Believe it or not, we'll get into it, but that was actually an objection to Sunday school starting, was that you shouldn't learn on a day of rest.
I believe it.
But I asked some of our listeners what some of their memories about Sunday school are. So I thought we'd go through some of those, and then I'll talk a bit about the history of Sunday school. So we'll start with, maybe I'll go through some of my memories of Sunday school.
Sure.
So my church had Sunday school between 10 and 11. So we had our 9 a.m. service, which was like the early service. And then we had the 11 o'clock service, which was like the old people service. And so 9 o'clock was when we, the church service that played all the hit cool songs. And then the 11 o'clock one was all the old hymns and things like that. But in between, they had Sunday school. So kids from both services would meet up in the same Sunday school class. It was like by grade, and it was always like run by a volunteer. So some years the teachers were great, and some years they were awful. The best though was, I think in grade 6, we got the room that had a little cubby with all the costumes for all the Christmas plays and stuff in it.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so the people who got there early would like run in there and hide, and then like try to scare people, or like we'd try to sneak off during the Sunday school to go in there. But yeah.
So I mean, my knowledge of Sunday school mostly comes from TV.
Yeah,
and like The Simpsons and stuff, mostly. And I always, I always found it weird going to like a school for church on the weekend. That always was a weird thing to me. But then the more I like learned, and then I'm like, a lot of people go several times throughout the week, not just for like Sunday school, but like Bible studies and other services. And that weirded me out because I'm like, once is enough.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, because we would also have our Wednesday night. Like we called it CYC and then CLC, so Christian Youth Club and Christian Life Club.
PYT, Pretty Young Thing.
Yeah. We called it PYT for a while, and then I think they just made up a name, but it was basically like a ripoff of the Boy Scouts. And so you'd wear sashes, and you had to get your like patches for different things like memorizing Bible verses and things.
But weren't the Boy Scouts already a Christian group?
Yeah. And I think they ended up suing the company that made all this stuff, because they even had like names from the Boy Scouts like in for like
really
stuff. Yeah. But so they got sued. But let's
anyway
see.
back to Sunday school. Sorry, I was I was like, the rest of the week is feeling neglected today, so I wanted to get back to it just a little bit, but now we can go back to Sunday, the proper Sunday school day.
And maybe some people are listening to this on the way to Sunday school as their parents.
You think so?
I don't know. Maybe. Probably not, but maybe.
I'll believe it.
Stan says, my parents weren't religious at all, but I went with a friend to her Baptist Sunday school. They gave me a Bible, and I never went back. Hey, free book.
That's true. Free Bible. I was told that Bibles are great because the pages are so thin, you can use them as rolling paper.
Oh, that's a good call.
I've heard, I don't know how great they would be, but that's what I've heard. So
yeah. How is the ink safe to smoke? I don't know.
I guess.
Jordan says, the good part of Sunday school, had a crush on the pastor's daughter. The bad part, had my arm broken and ribs fractured by the pastor when I asked her out.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. That's that took a turn.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Don't go to that church or any. But
did that pastor receive any consequences for their action?
That's a good question. Yeah. We should find out. Jordan, reach out. What happened there?
I also want to know, like, how old were you at the time? Not that it really matters, because either way, it seems like you were probably a minor. And this pastor should have gotten jail time.
Yeah.
For assaulting a child.
Yeah, you'd think so. You ever see that video of the guy who punched his youth group kid in the stomach?
I might have, yeah.
Yeah, to save him for the Lord.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so this person says, spending time with kids my age, some of them my old friends, fun activities, and I guess a sense of community. Looking back, it was the cult-like worshiping was weird, but as a kid, you just don't think of it that way.
Yep.
And yeah, we also watched dumb short videos that ranged in animation quality, and looking back, they were mostly bad. Yeah. We didn't do a lot of videos in my Sunday school. I don't know if that was because they didn't want to wheel that, the TV on the stand, the classic like school TV. Yeah. This person says lots of puppets, went to a lot of churches because we moved a lot, and a bunch of them used puppets. A bunch of them had teens essentially preaching to younger kids on some days, like once a month.
Was your Sunday school taught by like teens, or was it taught by grown-ups?
It was taught by grown-ups. It was taught by like my friends' parents. I pretty much remember the ones I remember anyway were like my friends' parents.
So was the Sunday school thing like the teachers and stuff predominantly like volunteers and people in the congregation who would do that stuff?
Yeah, I think in most churches that's kind of the way it works.
Right.
And I think early on too, it was very empowering for women, because it was one of the first times that after Sunday school started, it was one of the first times that women were like allowed to teach and be involved in a lot of church activities and stuff.
Right.
So-
My issue with that though is that for most other instances where you are teaching children, you have to be qualified to
Yep.
teach them, and in this case, you just have to be someone who goes to church to teach them.
Yeah.
So that's my big issue right here.
But you're already teaching them false information, so I guess it doesn't really matter who's teaching them the false information.
I mean, at least if you're going to teach them false information, teach it to them correctly.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the same person also says that they by like fourth, fifth grade, they were already asking too many questions, so they ended up just having to go into church with their parents because Sunday school teachers didn't like them asking the questions. So yeah. And one person said that their parents just showed them clips from 10 Commandments. And then they just showed parts of 10 Commandments. So over months, they would just watch the 10 Commandments. This person said another crush one. The good part, having a crush on the pastor's son. He says trying food from other Latino countries, interacting with kids like me. The bad, the bigotry, hypocrisy, and the backwards logic used to excuse it all, encouraging Latinos to act against other Latinos and other minority groups. That's sad. Yeah, lots of stories like that. Puppets. Just one person said they went to a church where the puppet said, when you go to heaven, you'll find your lost items. You'll find your lost shoes when you get to heaven.
Really?
Yeah.
That's like, I was just looking up because I was trying to remember some of the Sunday school things from The Simpsons. But like the one was like, ma'am, if you're really a good person, but you're in a really, really, really bad fight and your leg gets gangrene and has to be amputated, will it be waiting for you in heaven? It's just like, for the last time, Bart. Yes.
That's so
I guess it's the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
Your toys will be, that'd be great. Like you had all your arms and legs chopped off and then you go to heaven and they're all waving there.
They're all waving. Yeah.
I'm sure they'd probably be holding a sign like at the airport, right?
That's true. Yeah.
It'd be like Trevor Poelman.
Darren says singing action songs that say like hallelujah, 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 praise ye the Lord. And then just to fill up time, like songs that meant nothing really, just to fill up time.
I feel like I would hate that. See, like I didn't like when we would do Christmas carols in school.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we'd all have to go to the gym and sing Christmas. I hated that.
Yeah.
So I feel like Sunday school would be like my nightmare because the religious songs were always the worst songs to sing anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Especially like nonsense. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Who's Al?
Who's Al?
Al? Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. He owns the church.
Oh yeah, Big Al's church.
Oh yeah, a lot of people mentioned felt boards. So those were like those. They were the boards.
That's a list of like who the pastors felt up.
Yeah. No, it was like they have pictures of Jesus and the disciples, and you move them around on this felt board, and you tell a story about, or like like the fruits of the spirit or whatever. He also mentioned Fire by Night. When he was a teenager, they would make them watch that. Fire by Night, if you ever seen it, it's like it was a Christian sketch comedy show.
Okay.
Minus the comedy, I guess.
Right.
So they have like sketches and stuff, and then they'd also have like part sitcom, but like it was always like in your face, trying to scare you away from having sex or scare you away from joining a satanic cult. And
that doesn't sound funny at all.
No. Yeah, I watched a clip the other day of a guy who was like talking about like, don't you get it? I'm a Satanist. I'm supposed to kill you.
I mean, I never thought about it that way, but yeah, I guess that's probably true.
Yeah. Well,
also, I was also thinking about those like the felt Jesus and the disciples, you know, all the other kids playing with like Transformers and stuff.
Yeah.
you have to play with felt Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like I have a lot of these. So maybe I'll just skip down and we'll start doing the history first.
Sure.
But Aaron mentioned though, Deep and Wide was a song, and I'm in the Lord's Army. I very much remember saying
and wide.
Deep and wide, there's a fountain flowing deep and wide. And then you do actions with it. And then you like a fountain, you're doing like, I just poured my coffee everywhere like a fountain. But it's a beautiful song. But yeah, so 1700s. Let's go back to the 1700s.
We'll get back into the time machine.
Yeah, fire up the flux capacitor. Yeah, 1751 is when a church called St. Mary's Church in Nottingham by
England
started doing their Sunday school. It's maybe one of the first ones. There's a few other ones that kind of pop up here and there. Basically, the idea is, though, is, a lot of people have switched over to Protestantism. So it's basically, get the kids in there. You're going to teach them catechism. You're going to teach them the basics of the faith. Hopefully persuade them to stick around.
I mean, a lot of this feels like it's just the parents couldn't be bothered to teach their kids this shit, so they're just making someone else do it for them.
Exactly. But then a guy named Robert Raikes comes along. Robert Raikes, he was a businessman, a business tycoon, you could say, newspaper owner, and as well as other businesses and things. He's the story goes that he was sitting in his study on a Sunday afternoon, and kids were playing out in the streets and making lots of noise. And he was like, damn like, what are they doing out there? And then he realized, like, oh yeah, Sunday's the only day they have off because all these kids are working in the factories. And like,
yeah, they should put them to work.
But yeah. And so like as young as 5, a lot of kids would start working in these factories, and especially like lower class kind of poor kids have to help support the family or support themselves. So he's like, well, they have the day off, so why don't we try educating them? Was it because he wanted the kids to stop annoying him when he was trying to do work in his study, or was it because he cared about the kids? That's, up in the air. But either way, he started pitching the idea of doing classes on Sundays to teach kids who can't go to school during the week how to read and write and how to, do math and all that.
I guess that stuff's good, I guess.
Yeah. So it started off less about just teaching them about the Bible, even though, that was part of it. But it was more about
general education.
Exactly.
I was going to say, like, can you imagine being like the dick who, you're just an old person and there's the kids playing ball outside and you're like, those damn kids, I'll teach them. I'll force them to go to school on the weekends.
Yeah. And so 1780 in Gloucester, England.
I think it's Gloucester. I think it's
Gloucester. Okay,
I think that's how you say it.
Worcestershire.
Yeah, Worcestershire.
Yeah, They started him and Thomas Stock, another guy. They started working on this and getting it up and going, and so they pitched it to their church, I guess, and they got clergy involved, lay people involved to start teaching these kids how to read and write. So they'd come in the morning and then stay most of the day and learn. So you'd go to mass or you go to church or whatever. But before that and after that, you're studying till about 5, I guess, in the afternoon.
Right.
Yeah. And so, reading, writing, arithmetic. But again, like we said, some people didn't like this at all. Number one, because those poor people need to learn their place. They shouldn't be reading and writing. They start reading and writing.
That's fair. Yeah.
Then they're going to get crazy ideas about, they're going to read some pamphlet saying that maybe 5-year-olds shouldn't work, and they're going to start fighting against child labor, or they're going to read. They're going to read something about, an 8-hour workday or something like that. And they're going to freak out and say, what am I doing working 6 days a week, 20 hours a day or whatever?
I got to say that is something that we're severely lacking in this country right now. Is that child labor? That's
true. Yeah, people who can't read, so they just work 12 hours a day.
They're saying that nobody wants to work anymore, right? Because of CERB and that nobody wants to do these jobs. So and the kids have to stay home, right? Most of the time because schools get closed or whatever. So why don't we just send them to factories and restaurants to work?
Exactly.
There you go.
I think you just solved the world. Yeah.
We don't need to pay for daycare that way. The parents can work from home without having to take care of their kids. and we solve a labor crisis.
Yeah.
Problem. That's how you become prime minister. So
I think so. Yeah. And plus their small hands are easy.
Mhm.
It's easier for them to get in the machinery to get that bolt out of
Exactly.
there or whatever. Yeah.
and especially today when things are getting smaller and smaller, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the other controversy, though, was that teaching school stuff is like working, and you're not supposed to work on the Sabbath.
Right.
And so that's why eventually they cut out math. Eventually they stopped teaching math and like arithmetic and stuff because that was the most like work. So reading and writing, at least you can say, well, you're doing that to teach them how to read the Bible or Christian stuff. So that's less work because you're learning about God. But math, that's a sin to teach that. So that was cut eventually from a lot of places, but they were still teaching them to read and write. So at least that was, something good for the old kids.
The old noodle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So people it was pretty much financed by people who believed in the program. So they would just donate money to make sure that these kids could get an education, donate their time, things like that as well.
I mean, that's better than just dumping cash into the church itself. I'd rather them be trying to help poor and disenfranchised children learn to read and write.
Exactly. And they were actually it looks like a lot of times the teachers were paid, so they were compensated for their time, and it would either be done, they would rent a building, use a person's home, and or things like that. It wouldn't necessarily just be at the church.
Well, I mean, that makes sense if they're there all day teaching kids. Yeah. Like if it's like you were saying, like a Sunday school, like an hour, maybe, you can volunteer. Yeah. But if you're teaching them to read and write all day, you should be compensating them.
Yeah, exactly. These continue to grow. They, spread across England. It was a lot of it too, was people were afraid that, these kids are out on the streets. They're going to get into crime. If we get them into school, that's going to get them off the streets. It's going to reduce crime, things like that as well. Yeah. So,
education can help reduce crime.
Yeah. Weird. Yeah. And then, so they became they also became a great place for, people to meet other people their age and make friends and socialize. Cause you're not just doing factory work and being ordered around. It's more of a community kind of thing. And you're like that. Also, you're learning about God. So by 1785, there was 250,000 kids throughout England that were
that's a lot of kids there.
Yeah, and then let's see here. I think 1831 there was 1.25 million kids in Great Britain.
Oh.
So basically 25% of kids in England were in Sunday schools.
So this really took off there.
Yeah.
This would have been Church of England at the time?
Yeah, Church of England, and then other denominations. A lot of like Presbyterian congregational style churches were doing this as well. Yeah, and then it started to move into America. But the thing is, in America, what was different there too was that there were more kids, like less kids working in factory, more kids going to school, especially by like the 1830s. But you also, they already had separation of church and state, so you weren't allowed to teach religious studies. So you have all these kids already learning reading and writing. So that's when Sunday school started to become more about just
teaching them
studies.
religion.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. So Samuel Slater was a guy who had a bunch of textile mills in Rhode Island. So, actually as early as 1790, so early on in the Sunday school movement, he started having Sunday school. He started making Sunday schools to teach the kids who worked in his factories reading and writing and things like that. So there was still a lot of that. And then there was a guy named John Hale Vincent, who worked with Baptist people and started a system, and 80% of all new members were introduced to the church through Sunday school by the 1800s. So a lot of became a real get your kids out there. They're going to learn to, learn about the Bible, learn to read, and also come to church. So it helped the church grow as well. And
so it's basically like a giant recruiting factory for them in the States. So it went from being something where they're trying to educate poor illiterate children into becoming, let's indoctrinate these children so that they follow our beliefs and join the church.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it was so they would still do in the afternoon. It looked like so you kind of stay after church and do your learning, and then like I said, as more and more people were going to school, that became less the focus, and it became more about learning the Bible. So by the 1930s and 1940s, it switched from staying after church and studying all afternoon to like in the morning before church or between services, like I did, and it's like. And then it reduced from, hour long, like a few hours in the afternoon to just like an hour long Bible study, basically before church.
Yeah.
And then, so they're still going strong. A lot of churches spend a lot of money on making sure that they have hip, cool Sunday school programs with, laser light shows and all that stuff, and probably still using puppets. I was a puppet guy. I did all the puppets when I was a teenager for the kids. But
I'm not surprised.
I was pretty cool guy. My church actually had adult Sunday school as well. So while the kids were in Sunday school, the adults had their own Sunday school thing, but like just met in the church, and they would kind of go over things in the Bible,
right?
Or whatnot.
That's one of those things that I've always found interesting, is that like Bible study and Sunday school and stuff, you're all just like, it's basically like book club with one book forever.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, that's so boring.
Yeah.
Like how do people read the Bible every day? And I know some people do, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, we were encouraged to, like, either we had what we called our devotional time. So you either start your day or end your day with, or both, with reading the Bible. And
like, that's crazy to me. Like, can you imagine, like, let's think, like, maybe you were reading I don't know, like Hemingway's For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Yeah.
And you just read that every day for the rest of your life. And then you took classes on it, you studied it constantly. I mean, if you were a scholar, maybe I could see that, but even then you'd probably read other stuff. But it's so wild. I mean, I would get so bored, and I just wouldn't stop caring about everything.
It's true. Very true. Well, like in English class, when you'd be studying a book and the teacher's like, well, why are the drapes red in this?
Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what the author wrote down. It doesn't fucking matter.
Exactly.
So, I mean, if I had to do that with the Bible, I think I would go nuts.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people do go nuts. And that's why you have people on street corners saying, believe. And,
I guess saying believe is easier than saying, this is why you should believe.
Yeah. But a lot of curriculums too. So we talked about how, you mentioned that it's just like volunteers or whatever. It's just like your parents. It's not people who are trained to teach. So they would have curriculums. Like we always had these like booklets that we had to work through, things like that. Right. So that's a big business too. Selling those books. I worked with a youth leader who that was his goal in life, was to just publish this curriculum for youth in Sunday schools. That's what he wanted to do. I
mean, I guess, yeah. Someone's got to want to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. There's the Religious Tract Society, which I'm sure is a great place, and then a lot of like Zondervan, like different big book companies do their own curriculums.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much Sunday school in a nutshell.
Yeah. So I mean, it just seems like it was a bunch of people who originally wanted to teach kids who couldn't read how to read and write.
Yeah. And
then it just became, well, they already know how to do that, so let's teach them this bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they were coming from the same kind of place where like they need to know this.
Yeah.
This is a good thing to know. But
it's true. I guess Stephen Colbert teaches Sunday school.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Carter.
Mm-hmm.
And other famous people.
Yeah.
Have or do teach Sunday school.
Hey man, more power to them, I guess. I mean, if that's what you want to do and that's your belief system, sure.
Yeah.
I just don't buy it. And I most of my perspective is, if I was a kid, I would hate it, because I'm looking at it from that lens, less about like anything else, but more just like, why do we have to go here and talk about this stuff? I don't care. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, and you always had that one really hyper kid who like got all the attention because he was the hyper kid, and
Well, squeaky wheel gets the grease.
So let's move on to our Bible study and thank our patrons.
Let's say thank you to them. Thank you.
Oh my God! Wow! Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey folks, this is Trevor here. First of all, I do want to thank the patrons, and I appreciate you so much. I love you folks. You're amazing. Unfortunately, so Damien's on vacation, and I tried to record the Bible study thing on my own, and it's just awkward. So a huge thank you, but I'm going to thank you by name next time. And also for those of you who came to the Zoom party the other day, that was a lot of fun. And yeah, thank you so much for that. And we'll do more of those, and we'll do more live streams, and we're just gonna keep the party rolling. Thanks.
Can't you see you're not making Christianity better? You're just making rock and roll worse.
This song. So I don't know if. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Is this a Sunday school song that you would sing?
No, it wasn't a Sunday school song that you'd sing. But I feel like I thought for sure we had done the song, but I couldn't find. Okay. But I guess we haven't. I think I at one point was planning on and then switched to a different song.
Right.
What it was. But this is by a guy named Ray Boltz.
Ray Boltz. Boltz. B-O-L-T-S?
Z.
B-O-L-Z?
Yeah, B-O-L-T-Z.
Oh, T-Z. Boltz.
Yeah, Boltz.
Like he's an extreme bolt.
Like, yeah, exactly. He's a bolt to the extreme. The song's called Thank You. It was usually sung when a missionary was in town, or when somebody, it was like somebody's anniversary of like being in the church so long or whatever, and you're going to thank them for all the service they did, and you get some guy up there, some lady up there to sing this song all about.
Can I just say that this description of the song is already putting me to sleep.
So what Ray Bolt's songs were very story driven. He would always like create a scenario and then like tell a story about whatever in the scenario. A couple years ago, I think in 2010, around that time, he came out of the closet and said, I am a gay man. And so a lot of churches were like, well, I guess we can't sing his songs anymore. But he's kind of stepped away from doing music and things like that, and just living happily with his husband, and yeah. So of course the church turned their back on him. Like,
yeah, I mean, surprise Pikachu face, right?
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, but so it says, song goes, I dreamed I went to heaven, and you were there with me. We walked upon the streets of gold beside the crystal sea. We heard the angels singing, then someone called your name. You turned and saw this young man, and he was smiling as he came. And he said, friend, you may not know me now. And then he said, but wait, you used to teach my Sunday school when I was only 8. And every week you would say a prayer before the class would start. And one day when you said that prayer, I asked Jesus in my heart. And then it goes on to like say at one time you gave money to a missionary, and because of that missionary, I'm saved, or you gave somebody a sandwich or whatever.
This feels like, like when you're in like second or third grade or something like that, and then you have to like write a thank you poem. Or like something like really rudimentary, basic, and lame, and then you have to write it out, and then you give it to like your mom or something. That's what this feels like.
Yeah, it does.
I understand what's going on, but it's just like ugh, it's so bad.
It's pretty bad.
It's bad.
But people they'd sing the song, and then everybody in the congregation would be crying and
crying.
Oh yeah.
Why are they crying?
Because it's so touching and moving that every little thing you do, you don't know what impact you have on those.
Oh my God, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
It's just overly sentimental for no real reason. It's just, I don't know. It's lame
sauce. Yeah. Next.
Lame. Thank you. Next.
As Ariana Grande would say.
Who?
She's a singer songwriter.
I know who that is.
Oh.
I was just kidding.
You're such a good prank.
Gotcha. She's one of the co-hosts or one of the judges, on The Voice this season.
Oh, It's too bad because the Lord says, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." So
that's true. Yeah. Even in a competition show.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like the Lord would love American Idol.
That's true. I think you're right. Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for coming to our Sunday school, and let us know how you doing.
Yeah, and if you think that we should sit down with you again on Sunday and maybe stop teaching you math and just start teaching you more about the good old Bible.
Big bobbleheads.
Yeah, Genghis Christ and all the things he did with his 10 buddies or whatever.
Praise be the Lord. Bye.
Work, Sky Moon.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network.
Sonar!